So I'm Jordan Jones, and I'm the president of the New Mexico Book Association. And I'm glad that you're spending part of your evening with us as we celebrate books in New Mexico and the gift it is to put books in the hands of readers. Before we get to our awards and to a talk by Denise Chavez, I need to point out that we're recording tonight's event. We're going to be posting it on our new YouTube channel. And we ask that you remain muted for most of the presentation. We'll have time for questions at the end. And before we get to the main event, I want to introduce our board and staff and then tell you a little bit about the association and some of what we do. The officers will also do part of the presentation. So first we have me, I'm the president. As I said, I live in Albuquerque, and I've been editing and publishing books and magazines for 35 years, along with a few other different things. And next we have our vice president, Miguel De La Cruz. Miguel, you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Miguel De La Cruz. I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I am an avid reader and short stories assembler. And I'm very, very excited for tonight's Fiesta.
Excellent. As our secretary and historian, we have Connie Nelson.
Hello, everybody. I moved to Santa Fe in 2018 and was fortunate to meet Sandy and Jared right away, who brought me to NMBA, and here I am. Just a few years later, I have an office. I'm currently writing a book.
Excellent. And then we have our treasurer, Paula Lozar.
Lozier, can you hear me?
Paula?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know nobody ever pronounces my name right. And yes, I've been involved in NMBA for probably since about 2008. I've been every officer at one point or another. I'm a retired technical writer and technical editor, and I'm presently working on my perpetually in progress series of mystery novels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure if he's joined the meeting, but our first at-large member is Richard Polizzi. So I guess he couldn't make it tonight. And another at-large member is David Frobel. David, want to say a couple words?
Okay, Richard is there. He's muted.
No? Okay. Our manager is Mari Angulo.
Does it work now?
Yep.
You can hear Richard now.
Richard.
Yep. Go ahead.
Do you want, yes, if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The Book Association was founded in 1995. That was 26 years ago. And I was there at the beginning, and as are a few other members of our association right now. And a couple of things that I really was proud to be a part of is, of course, the Libro and doing book shows, the ABA in New York, the book show, a book show in Chicago, another in Las Cruces, and others. And of course, the New Mexico Library Association. I really am proud of New Mexico's book world. And here it is right here. I'm so glad we did this. Can you, oh, there we go, New Mexico's book world. This had, and all the booksellers, all the publishers, all the designers, everybody involved in books, all the libraries in New Mexico. Maybe I should shut up now. I'm sorry for arriving late. I had a digital problem here. I just want to say one of the best festivals, most loveliest festivals is or was the Border Book Festival. So thank you, Denise, for being here today.
Thank you, Richard. It was a great era. We miss the festival. Golly, I miss it a lot. Thank you for participating and for being part of that world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Denise.
Great. David, did you want to say a couple words? No? Okay. Our manager is Marian Gulo. She can't be here tonight because she lives in Madrid, Spain, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning there. And we also have working for us Kristen Romero, who's on staff. Kristen?
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen. Yeah, I help Madi manage the organization. So if you get a whole bunch of emails, those are from us. We help organize these types of events, the workshops. We send out the monthly newsletters. All that is us. So yeah, welcome to the meeting. Thank you for being here.
That is our group. The New Mexico Book Association brings together enthusiastic and dedicated people whose lives and livelihoods involve producing books and providing them to the public. Founded in 1994, NMBA was a pioneer, opening its membership to all individuals, businesses, and institutions who are professionally involved with books. We are a professional organization supporting the authorship, editing, design, creation, production, distribution, and marketing of books in all forms by providing networking opportunities, educational programs, book selling events, and expert advice for our members.
NMBA is the only statewide nonprofit that serves all book professionals. We continue to be one of the country's most active associations. We are involved in preserving and perpetuating the book, supporting books, book publishing, and literacy in general. We provide a place for people in the book world to network, meet others, learn, and grow. Here are some of the things that we get involved in and we sponsor. We host monthly luncheon networking sessions on the second Friday of the month at 11:30. And since COVID, we have been doing those online through Zoom, and it's been wonderful. Our round robin chat sessions on Zoom have allowed us to meet in smaller groups with the members, and it's been very popular. If you want to participate in our next luncheon, you just sign up on our website. We host workshops, and many of these presentations bring book professionals to talk to members and friends about book design, marketing, publishing, and related issues such as legal and copyright. We even had a session on ghostwriting. The events generally cost $10 for members or $15 for non-members. We will have some more of these in the spring and summer. And if you follow our website or check out the Libro newsletter, you'll get more details. We host 2 events each year, the Winter Fiesta that we are attending right now, and a summer gala. We also share news about publishing and our members' accomplishments in the Libro Nuevo, our monthly newsletter, and that's online too.
Thank you, Connie. Yeah, another thing that we do for our members is offer opportunities to sell books. In a normal year, we would go to at least one in-person book selling event. Richard mentioned the New Mexico Library Association, which we participated in for a number of years. And if that kicks back up again in the future, we will probably be there. This year, we're participating in the Tucson Festival of the Book, which due to COVID-19 is being done entirely online. We're participating by setting up a new online bookshop to help our members sell their books. It's a very reasonable cost per title, and your book is up there for a year. Details are on the website and also in the upcoming Libro. The online bookshop will be something that we will continue going forward. We will sell books by our members, as well as the Harris Award winning books. So if you're interested in participating and you're a member, go to our website and we'll have the information there. Another thing that we do is recognize excellence in our field with the Book in Hand Awards, the Richard Harris Award, and the Southwest Book Design and Production Awards, or SWIBDA, which we will be kicking off soon. Again, information is available on our website and in Libro. The SWIBDA Awards recognize creativity and quality in book design and distinction in production across 16 different categories. and it highlights standards of excellence in book design and publishing throughout the Southwest. So watch for details soon. And now I'll turn it over to Miguel to talk about tonight's awards. I should point out that this is a very special first. It's the first time we've given both a Harris Award and a Book in Hand Award to the same author. So you're special, Denise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about tonight's award. So the New Mexico Book Association Book in Hand Award honors a New Mexico bookstore or individual for meritorious service to bookselling, librarianship, or other creative ways of putting books in the hands of readers. The award is usually annually, with presentation either at our summer gala or our winter fiesta. Nominations may be made by any member of the association. This year, we're pleased to award the Book in Hand Award to Denise Chavez of Libros para el Viaje, or Books for the Journey, for her dedication and generosity putting Spanish as well as English and bilingual books in the hands of refugee, asylum, and migrant families on the US-Mexico border. So the Richard Harris Award was founded in 2012 to honor the memory of her late president, Richard Harris. It recognizes a book whose excellence in every aspect, in writing, editing, design, production, and lasting influence in New Mexico. It exemplifies the ideals of publishing in which Richard Harris devoted his career. Here are the previous recipients of Richard Harris Award. This year, we're pleased to award the Richard Harris Award to Denise Chavez for her book, The Last of the Menu Girls. So let me introduce Ms. Chavez. Ms. Denise Chavez is a true child of La Frontera. Is a novelist, playwright, actor, community activist, and teacher whose work focuses on the border corridor of the southern New Mexico, West Texas, and northern New Mexico. While her work is centered in this every challenge break between the worlds, her characters speak to universal themes. She's the author of many books, including the short story collection, The Last of the Menu Girls, which we are honoring tonight. She's also the owner and bookseller at Casa Camino Real, a bookstore and multicultural art and community center on the historic Camino Real. Chavez is a founding member of the American Booksellers Diversity, Inclusion, and Equality Committee. Chavez and her husband and fellow bookseller, a Franco-Russian American photographer, Daniel Solinsky, are working on the creation and development of Museo de la Gente, a borderland resource center which will serve to preserve, document, and celebrate the story of the borderland community in the southwestern US and northern Mexico. So let's give a hand to and welcome Denise Chavez.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you to everybody. I hope you can hear me. Can you? Yes. There is so much to celebrate today. I want to thank the New Mexico Book Association because it means so much to me, these awards. And they're not really only for me, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but these awards come from you, my peers, my colegas, my gente, mi familia, el plebe, the pueblo. It means so much to an author to get an award from their fellow New Mexicans or wherever they live, their fellow citizens. These awards particularly, well, they're not about me always. No, and nor they should be. I would like to introduce Kari Lenander, Kari. I'll get it right sometime, Kari. Kari Lenander, who is the Executive Director of the Border Servant Corps, without whom the Book in Hand Award would have never happened. Someone came into our bookstore, a fellow reader, looking for dictionaries. And she said, well, they need dictionaries over at the Border Servant Corps at Peace Lutheran Church. So I went over there. I introduced myself to Kari. I said, why do you need Spanish English dictionaries? And the rest is history. We have been distributing books for nearly 3 years now here on the US-Mexico border, books that came from booksellers, bookstores, readers, from anybody from a 5-year-old child to anyone. And without the work of the Border Servant Corps collaborative member, this award really goes to Border Servant Corps and to the refugee migrants, asylum seekers who inspired us and remind us that books heal lives. Here is Kari Lenander. I'd like her to say a few words. Are you there, Kari?
Hi, Denise. Hi, everyone. We're just so grateful for being able to be part of this program. Denise, as you all know, stood up right away when she knew that there were families in our midst that were seeking a place to be cared for. And she came in right away and brought joy and love and hope through the power of literature. And we're so grateful to Denise and to donors and supporters locally and really from around the world that have supported this. Denise has been our champion, and we're so, so grateful. So thank you. It's an honor to be here and recognize and honor the work that Denise and the community has done together.
Thank you so much, Kari. Just this afternoon, we listened to Ruben Garcia from the Annunciation House. It was a very moving plática talk, press interview that he gave. We are going to start seeing asylum seekers coming in, 25 a day. And it's going to be very interesting and healing. Our border is experiencing much. And truly that is on YouTube. I'll put some information and we'll get that information to you. It's an up to the date what is happening on the US-Mexico border. The Annunciation House in El Paso is one, would you say one of the centers where migrants and refugees will be gathering, Kari, is that correct? There are 3, right? There's
where in our region, Annunciation House is the primary hospitality center. They're incredible.
And the other one is where there's 2 other hospitality centers that are very active. Where are the other two?
Well, there are 2 other ports that are being opened to welcome asylum seekers. So one has already happened last Friday. Folks were welcomed 25 a day in San Diego, to 25 a day to start. And then I believe it was yesterday that it started in Matamoros.
Okay, so there is hope. Keep tuned, Kari, and all the work you're doing. Save the children. Adelante. So I want to give this award in recognition of the Border Servant Corps and also my mother. People have to always mention their mothers when they get an award. There's very few fathers mentioned, but I'd like to mention my little dad too. He was a comic, brilliant lawyer, and a wonderful reader. My parents were readers, but I'd like to remember my mother, Delfina Rede Favor Chavez, because she made us very hard. She made us work hard to learn anything. For example, if you needed to spell the word constellation, she would not spell it out to you. She would make you work at it, constellation. And when I was about 10 years old, my mother gave me a thesaurus. I still have it, I still use it. She inscribed on that beautiful thesaurus and the dictionary that she gave me to a future writer. And so it was. My mother was this incredible storyteller. My father was kind of a Jack Benny type of person with a silent wit. They loved stories. They were good at telling stories. There wasn't a dud in the bunch. Summer nights were spent outside listening to the coyotes in far west Texas at my aunt and uncle's grocery store in the little village of El Polvo, the Dust, Texas, which was later changed. The name was changed to Redford, Texas. We would sit out there, listen to the coyotes. Somebody might have roasted a goat. I wouldn't touch goat meat now, but then it was the thing. And we would sit out there and listen to stories, eat sandia. In the summer times here in Las Cruces, and in the winter times, life was full of stories. At my Tío Lalo's house, Uncle Eddie, he was a frustrated painter that had traveled, hopped a freight, got to New York to learn with Hans Hoffman, the painter, and came back to Las Cruces to become a sign painter. I don't think that anybody in the family ever bought a painting from him. But in his 80s, he was honored at the Brannigan Cultural Center here in Las Cruces. My uncle used to do reproductions of Michelangelo and all the greats. And he had a living room of floor to ceiling, gigantic paintings, reproductions of the masters. He was the first artist that I knew. And I thought to myself, I want to be an artist. I always wanted to be a painter. If I was not a writer, I would have been a painter. What our family did have was story, vision, a hope to create. It was our richness, our wealth, our legacy, our pride, our hope, our blessing. I had my Texas world. I had my New Mexico world. And those two worlds intersected with language. And Texas, everybody spoke Spanish. In Nuevo Mexico, everybody wanted to get ahead and they spoke English. In those hopes of a young girl, I was that young girl who wanted to leave home. I never did. And I think of Terry Tempest Williams, who talks about those that leave and those that stay. Well, I was the one that stayed. I used to sit up on the roof. I had a lay space on our roof and I would watch the stars and think about my life. What was I going to become? What was my path? And in those days and those nights, I declared myself to the universe. And if you haven't done this now, I don't care what age you are, you need to declare yourself to the universe. I declared myself to the universe as a writer. And I said to the stars and to the world, I am a writer. I'm going to write. I'm not sure how I'm going to make a living. Still not sure, folks. But I am going to put myself on that path of provision, on that river of life. And when something comes down the stream, I'm going to be ready for it. And like I said, I'm not sure now how I'm going to make a living, what's going to come by, but I've never looked back, ever. And I want to thank my mother for telling me at one point, Denise, just write one, Gone with the Wind. And we all know that Margaret Mitchell just wrote the one book, Gone with the Wind. My mother was very angry with me because the librarian here at the Brannigan, Miss Caffey, Helen Caffey, let me check out the book when I was about 10 years old. You mean Miss Caffey let you check out Gone with the Wind? Yes, my sister, my mother, and I were reading that book. My mother, everything stalled that summer. I've never been a good house cleaner, but things stalled. My mother would hide the book, somebody would find it, and Margot would read it. My sister Margot, my mother would read the book. We all read that book. It was late, of course. We had fines on it, but my mother said, just write one, Gone with the Wind. And I would say to you that perhaps my Gone with the Wind is the last of the Menu Girls. Who knows? In many ways, it's one of the books that's closest to me, to my heart and my spirit. And I wrote this book in Santa Fe when I was ill. I had walking pneumonia. That was the year that Rodolfo Anaya confronted me. He was editing an anthology called Cuentos Chicanos, and he contacted me for a story. I had submitted a story, and I met him in Santa Fe. And he was my first editor, actually, Rodolfo Anaya. And he confronted me and he says, so you're going to be a writer? What are you going to do? And so I thought to myself, well, I'm a writer. I had already declared myself to the universe. Rudy offered me a fellowship at UNM. It was a 1-year master's in creative writing. I do not recommend this. Do not do it in 1 year. I got walking pneumonia. Got a lot of parking tickets. I was living in Santa Fe, traveling to Albuquerque. I eventually moved in with Mary Jean Haberman. Thank you. She took me in. That's when I met my husband, Daniel. He rented my house from me. It was a horrible time. But I want to thank the people that were instrumental at that time. Number one, Rodolfo Anaya, who gave me this incredible fellowship. The first thing that I did was buy an IBM Selectric gigantic blue typewriter. It was enormous. And I had about 10 varied and interchangeable font balls. Remember those? And you'd change the balls and you'd have a different font. It was wonderful. I accepted that fellowship, even though I got a job at the same time offered by artists in the schools to teach in Japan. Now, who would turn that down? Well, me. Why? Because I wanted to study with Rudy. My husband-to-be never forgave me for that. Irene Oliver Lewis got a really good job. And all I can say is that I'm not sorry, because it was the best decision of my life. I wrote the last of the menu girls in Rudy's class. And like I said, I was very sick. One night I was so sick that Daniel was taking care of me. And I said, you know, I'm bad. I feel like I have a bear on my chest. Can you take me to St. Vincent Hospital? And he did. I said, my heart, I'm in bad shape. For anyone that's had walking pneumonia, hopefully you will never get it. Pneumonia. Well, I got an EKG. My heart was in perfect condition. And I love to tell this story because Daniel, I asked him, I said, please, dear, can you take me to the Sonic Drive-In? I've got to get some onion rings. And he did. He did not balk. And I knew that he was a keeper then. I want to thank Rudy for confronting me. And my teachers that year. I studied with Tony Hillerman. Of course, I was writing the great American novel, but it wasn't. He was very kind. It was a dreamy mess. There were all kinds of people writing all kinds of science fiction, space alien inhabiting the body of a dolphin. You know, it was a mess of a class, but Tony Hillerman grabbed a hold of us and worked wonders. I also worked with that great English teacher, Dr. Hugh Whittemire, who was appalled by my scholarship. And he gave me a D on one of my papers and did write that on my paper, appalling scholarship. I'm honored to have gotten a D from Dr. Whittemire because he was the person that later recommended me for an honorary doctorate at UNM, which I did receive. And I was able to walk across that stage and hug Dr. Whittemire. I ended up getting a B in the class. The only reason was that I don't know how I found this out, but he was a theater guy. And for my final, I did a dramatic presentation and reading on John Millington Synge, the Irish playwright, Riders to the Sea. That cinched it, folks. That clinched it. I was able to get a B in that class. And I thank Dr. Whittemire, Tony Hillerman. Really, my life is full of gratitude to my husband who saved my life more than once. When I met him, I did not have a creatively artistic gourmet eating lifestyle. I lived on bologna sandwiches, cheese whiz, Vienna sausages, potted meat, everything in a tortilla. So I met the artistry and the artist of food and life when I married Daniel. And I'll never forget, as I said, that time, the walking pneumonia, and however many times he saved me. My life is full of gratitude for my older sister, Faride, now in the spirit world, the most generous person in the world, who always came aboard the Border Book Festival, Libro Traficante. She made so much food. She would show up at the bookstore with 5 blouses that she just bought at Dillard's. The only person that has ever given me towels. I've never had good towels in my life. She was my inspiration for outrageous bravado in the face of the world's apathy and lack of love. I'm going to read a little bit from my book now, The Last of the Menu Girls. Rocio Esquivel is a young girl looking for herself, and I'm hoping that all the young people that read this book will find a little bit of themselves. She's working in a hospital delivering menus to sick people. Now, Rocio means the morning dew. It's a beautiful name in Spanish. Her mother's name is Nieves, impacted cold snow. I was very fortunate when I was working with Kari in Juarez. We went to Biblioteca para la Vida, actually in Anapra, and there was a young girl. We had a tiny, dinky little room. We were working on creative writing and story, and we talked about names. We read a story about names, and this young girl said, "Oh, I hate my name, Rocio." I said, "You hate your name, Rocio?" I said, "Somebody bring me a dictionary." And they brought a dictionary, and we were able to look up the word Rocio, which means the dew. I'll never forget her face, how beautiful she became. She became transformed. She had no idea that her name meant anything and that it was a beautiful name, and it changed her life. And when we saw her later, Rocio was a different person. The Last of the Menu Girls is a book about longing and hope and mercy. As all my books cover these themes, I've always felt very connected with the Menu Girls, and I recently reread it. I don't often reread my books, but it was good to do so. I felt that it stood the test of time and reflected a period of that young girl's life. My dream is that other young women and young men will find in it some mercy for themselves and those around them, because we're so critical, irritated with everybody. Everything is so unconscious, lackluster, the boredom of youth, the angst of life, all balled up in what it means to be young. It's a great time of challenge and hope, just like for that Rocio. I'm going to read from The Willow Game, which is a pivotal story, not only for Rocio, but for me too. The incident of the willow tree, there's 3 pivotal trees in that story, if you haven't read it. And the willow tree is a true story. One day, my mother went out. We had a very deranged neighbor, teenager, who was chopping, literally pulling branches from our willow tree. And this is the tree that we used to play under, that we take whips and do wonderful things with those willow branches. The rooms were cavernous and lovely and green. Well, he was destroying the tree. And my mother said to him, "Billy, what are you doing?" And that became a scene that I'm going to read from shortly. In a way, that was an awakening of my writing life, because writers are people that question, why was he killing our tree? Who, what, when, where, and why? Who was this person? And why did he hate that tree? Recently, some of my neighbors chopped down 2 incredible pine trees. I went over and picked up some branches and brought them over to the house. I wept. I wept when those trees were destroyed for no reason at all. She didn't like the way they looked. And it broke my heart, truly. I hope in this afterlife, which I do believe in, that all the trees that I've loved, all the cats I've loved, all the animals, and all the people that I've loved will come up and greet me. Yes, why not? So this is a little bit from Willow Game. I was a child before there was a South. That was before the magic of the East. the beckoning north or the west betrayal. For me, there was simply up the street toward the spy's house next to Old Man W's, or there was down, past the marking off tree in the vacant lot that was a shortcut between worlds. Down was the passageway to family. The definition of small self is one of a whole, part of a past. Up was in the direction of town, flowers. My sister and I would scavenge the neighborhood for flowers that we would lay at Our Lady's feet during those long May Day processions of faith that we so loved. On our street, there were 2 flower places, Old Man W's and the Strongs. I always did the asking for the flowers. And in later years, when the street became smaller, less foreign, and the spies had become at least accepted, it was I who still asked questions, pleaded for flowers to Our Lady, heard the high piping voices of ecstatic children singing, "Bring flowers of the fairest, bring flowers of the rarest, from garden and woodland and hillside and dale. Our pure hearts are swelling, our glad voices telling the praise of the loveliest rose of the dale." One always came down. To our left is the willow tree. How to introduce her? I would take the light of unseen eyes and present the sister who lives in France, or her husband who died when he was but 30. I would show you the best of friends, and I would tell you how clear, how dear. I would recall moments of their eternal charm, their look or stance, the intrinsic quality of their bloom. And you would see inside an album a black and white photograph of a man with a wide, ruddy face and shirt sleeves, holding a plump, squinting child in front of a small tree. In this last photograph, one sees 2 new faces, one shy boy huddled among the girls, the others removed from all contact, lost in leaves. I have spoken least of all of the willow tree, but in speaking of someone dead or gone, what words can reach enough into the past to secure a vision of someone's smiling face or curious look? Who can tame the restless past and show, as I have tried, black and white photographs of small children in front of a tree? As children, one felt dull, leaden aches that were voiceless cries and were incommunicable. The place they sprang from seemed so desolate and transferable. They weren't transferable. You could not touch them. To carry pain around as a child does in that particular place, that wordless gray corridor, and to be unable to find the syllables in which to vent one's sorrow, one's horror. Being unable to see, yet able, willing yet unwilling to comprehend. A child's sorrow is a place that cannot be visited by others. Always the going back is solitary, and the little sisters, how much they love you, were never really there or near. And the mothers, well, they stand, as I said before, solemnly, without horror, removed from children by their understanding. My mother planted a willow several years ago so that if you sit on the porch and face left, you can see it thriving. It's not in the same place as its predecessor, too far right, but of course the leveling was never done. And how was our neighborhood handyman, Regino, to know? The apricot tree died, the tree that all the children loved, the marking off tree, that old desiccated tree in the vacant lot, is fruitless now, relieved from its round of senseless birthings. This willow tree is new with its particular joys. It stands in the center of the block in between. Thank you. It's hard to read that because I remember so many things. My mother standing there, coming out and confronting our deranged teenage neighbor. You got to read the story now, and asking him, why are you killing that tree? And what was his answer so many years ago? Well, I often describe that incident because it became story. And I think that's what writers do. We don't understand something and we want to, and so we write about it. That's exactly what we do. I would encourage you to become members of the New Mexico Book Association. They do incredible work. I still have that stump of the willow tree in my backyard. I wrote my first story about the willow when I was about 8. I still have that little story too. It's about 2 sentences. Then I wrote Willow Game, the story that I just read from when I was about 24. And now with that stump in my backyard, which I have to clear away, I still have another story about that willow tree. I would like to think that our stories endure, that they matter. And so I would encourage you to become a member of the New Mexico Book Association now, today. Can you become a member if you're not in New Mexico? That's a question for you, Jordan. Can you?
Certainly you can.
Okay.
We have members in other states and so forth, but typically it's because they're supporting book publishing and writing and all of the book arts that I talked about earlier that are happening in New Mexico. And so the person who's joining isn't necessarily in New Mexico. Maybe they're from New Mexico. Maybe they're going to come to New Mexico. Maybe they're in the Southwest and they feel engaged with New Mexico. That's fine.
Yes, and many of us have ancestors here. So many people in Colorado, Juliana, you have ancestors here. So become a member of the New Mexico Book Association. They need our support, our commitment. I'd like to thank Jordan and the members of the board. I knew Richard Harris. He was a lovely, talented, generous man. I really want to thank him and his family for supporting these awards. To thank all the writers that have joined us here today. My sister, Margot Chavez Charles, who has many stories to tell. She has the talent. She has el toque, the touch. I'm hoping that she will publish books. I'd like to remember Rudy again. And I would ask everyone that question. So what are you going to do? You're going to be a writer or what? That's my challenge to everybody here. We have a story. Only you can tell the story that you have. Only you can share that story. As my mother said so eloquently, just write that one, Gone with the Wind. And if you don't write it today, well, maybe it'll come tomorrow. Just keep looking for the words. Get that dictionary out. Get that thesaurus. It's been my great honor to be with you here today. I've been very moved by this. I felt like weeping all day long, and I might afterwards as soon as I have dinner. I haven't been able to eat. I'll eat dinner and then I'll weep, or maybe I'll weep and then I'll eat dinner. But it's my great honor to be with you here, everybody. And I'd like to turn it over to Jordan and see if anybody has questions. I could read more, but read the book. Read the book. Are there any questions from anybody? Or commentary? I'll take commentary too.
Well, that was an amazing performance. I could listen to you talk all night long because there's so much passion and humor and pathos. It's all there, all at the same time. It's great.
Well,
So
Mexicans are very Russian, you know, and we're also very Irish. And I think that's what Dr. Whittemire connected with, because I have always connected with John Millington, seeing all of the Irish playwrights. I can do a very good Irish accent. And I've actually written a little essay called Mexicans Are Very Irish. That is the beauty of literature. When a person comes up to you as a writer, as a woman from India did, and she said, Denise, your stories are so Indian. And I took that as a great compliment. And then another person came up to me and said, you know, you write in the manner of Charles Dickens. I thought, oh my Lord, I don't know anything about Charles Dickens. I love his work, but what do you mean? What are you saying here? Charles Dickens had mirrors in his studio, and he used to dance and prance and move around with his characters. And so that's what she was saying to me, that you take your character to lunch, you take them to dinner, you laugh with them, you cry with them. So in a way, that's what she meant about being a writer in the manner of Dickens. Writer and stories should reach everybody. And I'm just really honored again. If there's questions, what can I say? I'm in the room I was born in. It's very purple. It was purple then, it's purple now.
Can I say
So
something?
we go ahead.
How do you join New Mexico Book Association?
Pardon? What was the question? How do you
How
join?
do you join the?
Everybody, I think,
Yes.
Gordon can answer that. You have everybody's email. I think there's going to be a follow-up and
Yeah, we're gonna send a follow-up email to everybody, but you can certainly join by going to nmbookassociation.org. And I'll have that URL at the end as well.
Thank you.
Señora Chavez.
Yeah. Who is this?
Lo siento, yo hablo poquito español. Mi madre, para Castel de Sangro in Abruzzo, mi dispiace no parlo italiano molto bene. So my mother was also an immigrant to this country from Italy, and her grandfather and my great-grandfather died in an industrial injury. I love your stories because they talk about working people and immigrants who are what the United States, Estados Unidos, is all about. And while you were talking, I ordered your book. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, next time order it from me. Don't go on Amazon. Next time order it from me. We have a bookstore. It's okay. It's okay. You'll have my email, and then all future books can be ordered. I am a bookseller. The last couple of days, I've been putting books from a wonderful collection given to us by Margaret Randall, the international poet who lives in Albuquerque. Margaret gave us 110 boxes of her books. Books from Latin America, Joy Harjo, from everybody from Rosario Castellanos to you name it, and many of them signed first editions. It's been my great honor to go through books. I love books. I love everything that books are.
I just want to interrupt you and say I really like your walls. I mean, that
purple?
The purple is like, that's powerful. My book is coming out, Wounded Workers, and it's about working people.
Dr. Bob, we'll have to trade books, Bob. Get a hold of me and you'll have my email. But I think it's important for people to remember to write about what people say. Don't write about what you know. Somebody actually said, why aren't you going to stop writing about New Mexico? Well, get a life. My life is Nuevo Mexico, Texas, the stories of my family. Recently, I had an agent, but I have to say that today's been monumental. Not only did my buddy come home with 3 teeth, he's resting now, and I'm going to go check on him, but I also pitched another agent overboard today. I shouldn't say that so rudely. We just didn't jive. And it's important to have an agent to get your work published. But if your agent doesn't understand why you have so many characters, there's too many people, too many voices. There's no thread. Well, I'm sorry, folks. It's been a hard day bringing a sick cat home, talking to this woman who was my agent until this afternoon. I took a nap. I was interrupted. I had to go fix the bedding for the cat. But here is all to say that we need to find the stories from our own place in our own time, and do not let anyone tell you otherwise, that your story doesn't matter. Kari, I know you have stories of your life in Kansas, that wonderful Midwestern world. I know nothing about it. I've been there to Kansas City and the region, but you have stories to share with us. Kari has worked in the trenches 18 years, is that correct? How many years have you worked with the Border Servant Corps?
13.
Well, okay, maybe you'll make it to 18 then, who knows? Maybe you'll get back to Kansas. This is a woman that came out as a volunteer to work, and now she's head of the organization that takes books, clothing, toiletries. We're actively working now again because they're opening up the refugee center in El Paso. So yes, we are collecting books. The books need to be in Spanish. But then again, Denise Chavez is a hoarder. So I will actually take most any book if it's clean, not a remainder, doesn't have pizza marks or red chile. So we will find a home for books. So yes, we are collecting books, but if books go to Juarez, Kari, they have to be Spanish and clean and new books, correct? Más o menos.
Yeah, I think Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole are our top languages at this point.
Does anybody have questions for Kari, for me, about Libros para el Viaje? It's an ongoing, continuing book drive. We got books from many publishers, hundreds of publishers, bookstores. And what we're working on now, Kari is an editor with Enrique Lamadrid and I, we're working on a refugee anthology, stories not of the refugees. We can't honestly tell the stories of people that we may not know, maybe encountered for a half hour, an hour, but we know the stories of making bologna sandwiches for those people, of taking people to the airport, of taking people's temperature, of translating. And it's an anthology called We Are Here to Represent, which are stories of people who have served in the trenches of working with our refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants. We had over 80 submissions, and I have to say that they're stellar. What do you think, Kari? Yes. We had a submission from, and I shouldn't talk about this, but the director of the Peace Corps. We have many artists who have submitted, very well-known artists. Betty LeDuc, Winona LeDuc's mother, Luis Tapia, the sculptor, Miguel Gandert, the photographer, so many journalists. We have 2 submissions from 13-year-old girls. One of them, Mia Berkson here in Las Cruces, who worked with a Guatemalan child, and they shared dolls and stories. So we got a submission from Mia from Las Cruces, 13 years old. It's a beautiful story, and a story about a young girl working with her mother, who is an anthropologist in El Paso. So, and she lives, Hélène from France. Can you believe we got 2 stories from 2 13-year-olds, one from Las Cruces and one from France? So we're looking for a publisher. We need a publisher to publish We Are Here to Represent, but that's my current work now. I'm also working to get my own work published, just like anybody else. If you have books, send me your information to our bookstore, Casa Camino Real. We're closed to the public right now. It's in a mess right now, folks. I'm completely redoing all the bookshelves. I just got 200 books from Dr. Raul Valdez from NMSU, who's moved to Dolores Hidalgo. the sex life of animals. There's a lot of sex life books on animals, nature, the environment. He's a marine and animal biologist. I never thought that I would find such incredible books about alligators. He gave us very old books, Game Birds of India, and I put that on Facebook yesterday or the day before. But then I'm a vegetarian, folks, and then I realized game birds. Wait a minute, they're killing those birds. So I took it off immediately because I did not want to be responsible for a book called Game Birds. So if you didn't see it, the photographs of the images of this 1881 book are beautiful. But it's gone, folks, because I don't want to be responsible for a photograph of a bird that somebody shot. So all I can say is, any questions? Any more questions?
I think Martha had a question. Can you unmute, Martha?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm a closeted writer.
Closeted, huh?
Yes, I'm still in the closet about writing, and mine are children's books. So I don't know, plus I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. I don't know if I qualify for your group because I'm not a published writer and I only show a couple of people what I've written because I guess I've always been scared of rejection.
Well,
So Martha, I'll contact you offline to talk about it, but you certainly could be a member of our group. Not everybody here in the book association is a published writer. Some people are publishers and they don't do any writing, and some people are writers that are working to get published and working to maybe do self-publishing, and there's a variety of different things. But I'll contact you and we'll discuss it.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Martha Egan, do you have something you'd like to say? I hear you, see you waving. Unmute, dear. Martha, we can hear you.
Denise, thank you so much for everything you do. You are a true inspiration. You know, whether you're talking about the Libros para el Viaje, but also, I mean, you know, your stories are genuine. They're, you know, I grew up in a totally different environment, but they ring true. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done. And you're an inspiration.
Thank you.
Really are.
Thank you. Coming from you, Pachamama, your beautiful new book, Relicuarios, I congratulate you on that exquisite book that you've published recently. Honestly, I felt like crying all day, and I might have a really good cry because anytime I think about Nuevo Mexico, the stories of our people and who we are, the work is so deep here. We are truly blessed to live in Nuevo Mexico, aren't we? Our stories are so profound. Pamela, I don't know what the hell you're doing in Oaxaca, but you better get home soon. I know you're on an adventure, but I'm telling you now, girl, you got to get back, okay? You have to. She says no. She says no. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. We miss you in New Mexico. But our stories are unique. I love the interplay of language. Spanish, English, Spanish, Spanglish, French, whatever the language is. There's so many people that have ancestors. My husband Daniel is Russian and French. There's so many Ladus and so many people that are French in Nuevo Mexico, Italian. We're just a mixture of everybody. And that's the richness, isn't it, Richard? We are so rich. So I see all these beautiful writers. Keep in touch. You'll have my email on that list as well. If anybody needs to contact me, let me know. And I'm happy to answer questions and to help in any possible way that I can. Lorraine Ripple came back into my life. Lorraine, it's good to see you, Ceci. And she belongs to the Ceci Club. That's the Comadre Cabrona Club. And we greet each other with Ceci. Thank you, Ceci, for joining us. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to write about your family that are Nuevo Mexicanos, even though you live in Connecticut, right? Yes. So I'll turn it over to you, Jordan. I don't know if there's any questions. I could read more, but I don't think so, because writers don't read too much, writers. People don't want to hear you go on forever. Keep it short and sweet, punchy. I'm happy to do a workshop sometime for all of you. I recently did a writing workshop for students in Roswell, New Mexico for the Big Read. And upcoming in April, I'm going to be doing a Plática talk, semi-writing workshop for 450 kids through the University of Arizona. It's open to junior and high school students. If you want to register, teachers out there, register your class. They have room for 450 kids for this, what they call a matinee. It's scary, but at the same time, it's going to be on Zoom. And if you want to register your student or your class, we're going to be writing about home, our families, where are we going? I think of the wonderful quote by Navales, where are we always going? Home. And our stories are about home. And I'm looking forward to some of these young people, junior high and high school students. We have a wonderful writer, 12-year-old Annalise Elmquist, who I've been mentoring and have become a good friend of. She wrote a wonderful book. She needs to become a member of the New Mexico Book Association. Her book is called, oh gosh, it's from the point of view of Connor's tale. Connor is a 14-year-old rescue dog who's writing to young people about the pandemic. And she wrote and illustrated this book. Do you have an age limit? Can Annalise become a member? She's 12.
There's no age limit.
Okay, good. I'm going to recommend to her mother, she needs to be a member of the New Mexico Book Association. She sells her books and we sell them at the bookstore. It's a wonderful story of this dog comforting younger children and saying, it's going to be okay. We're going to be all right. We're going to make it through. Look at me. I'm still here. So.
Wow. Well, Denise, I want to thank you for spending the evening with us. It was amazing. You have so many great stories and you are such a great speaker and personality. And so I want to thank you for doing that. We were glad to be able to give you these awards, and we're glad that you also brought in Kari and recognized her contributions and contributions of this whole community that you're working with for Libros. I really want to thank everybody who's attended as well. And I want to just put one last pitch, although I can't do it as well as Denise, but one last pitch for the Book Association, and just remind you of some of the things that we do. We have networking events and workshops. We have 2 celebrations each year, like the one you've just attended. We have our monthly newsletter. And we're constantly looking for ways to create sales opportunities for booksellers and publishers. And we're doing some things on bookshop.org to extend that. We have awards like this one, and we're very happy to have given both of these awards to you tonight. And we have the SWIBDA coming up. You can find out more on our website there. We're going to have our next event, which is our networking event, on March 12th. And we hope people will attend that. And I think it's been really a pleasant evening to be able to spend time with you, Denise, and hear your stories and hear, for me, at the beginning, to hear that story of you being born and falling off the table into the closet with the shoes was a true story, really made my evening.
Folks, you can't make up the stories. The best stories are the true ones. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Love you. And thank you to the New Mexico Book Association once again for these many awards. Thank you.